Your friend, your brother, me, Hajji, Dr. Roshan can. In the Raw. Orcus Ghana Free Media in the Raw, part 2 of the PNC needs a consensus leader, probably female. I just did part 1. Ladies and gentlemen, and to make sure that there's a slight difference, I'm going to throw this over here and let it rest there. By Freddie Kissoon. Catch your news. The PNC is facing one of the severest crises since its birth. Can it survive? Asks Freddie Kissoon. The world has many small parties that will never win a general election because it is permanently squeezed by its traditional gargantuan rivals. And I think he's getting to the AFC. The AFC is actually wiped out, ladies and gentlemen. The AFC is there today in Parliament because the PNC, out of their good heart and charity, for which they are known, the PNC is a very charitable organization. Even politically, some people might have different views, but I know they're very charitable and a kind institution in many ways. But the PNC gave them, the AFC, 9 seats for free, ladies and gentlemen. Friends and families, you understand? 9 seats for free. They did not get a third of 1 seat votes to win a third of 1 seat. But the PNC gave them 9 seats just to create a semblance of peace, harmony, and to show openness. As Gorbachev, the former president of the USSR, said, glasnost, openness. But I think he's coming to the fact that the AFC, Alliance for Change, is wiped out. And I think that particularly one leader, Moses Nagamootoo, with the heart that I know he had for Dr. Chedi Jagan, this country, and for the PPP, for which he felt somehow hurt that he went against them, I think Moses Nagamootoo is suffering great pains and regrets and doesn't know how to call out to his former colleagues and friends for forgiveness and to be back in the fold. Even though he's a very old now, he's a big man, he's done his part, but sad that Moses Nagamootoo lost his legacy of greatness. His tryst with the AFC and the PNC did not augur well for this great personality who walked in my mind much as a youth growing up, looking at his charismatic style. And many of the way I speak and talk is usually based on his style and that of Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham, the first Prime Minister and President of Guyana. Back to the article. 2 of the world's famous examples, Freddie is saying, about small parties with gargantuan rivals within an alliance. The 2 of them are the National Democratic Party in Canada, which may never win the government, and the Lib Dems in Liberal Democrats or Lib Dems in the United Kingdom. The only route a small party can use to secure power is through a coalition, which is what the Lib Dems did a few years back. This happened, and that is why they got in somehow, and is actually led now by some Indian people from the Punjab, and has major position in the coalition of the Liberal Party of Canada. This happened also in Trinidad and Tobago a few years ago. The PNC is not a small party, I agree. It is one of the 2 electoral leviathans in Guyana. Leviathan is a giant. But herein lies the paradox. Can this behemoth ever win a general election after March 2020? This big powerhouse then, behemoth. I say no. They cannot win another general election, Freddie Kissoon. Not because of any hate. I have no hate for the People's National Congress. When they do wrong, I'll tell them. When the PPC do wrong, I will tell them. And this is the heart with which Hajji, Dr. Roshan Khan, was created with. Can they win an election? No, they can't win an election. They lost. They lost their hearts and mind. They could have won another election in the future, but not after the 5 months of pain and trauma that they caused in Guyana. Here lies the nightmare of the PNC. It is too early for the PNC to be displaced by the emergence of a dynamic third force. So no third force can come again. The only one that could have done it was the AFC, but it had an alliance with the PNC, so it lost its clout, its power, its fresh air, its essence of good order. And Freddie Kissoon was one of them who encouraged it. Freddie, you were one who encouraged it and went on a campaign with them and caused the PPPC, for which you later admitted that you regret, but it caused a lot of misery in this country. Imagine where Guyana would have been if we had that 5 years of power in order to fix the oil and gas so that no one man could go and sign off our patrimony and many other things with ExxonMobil. So you played a part, but you apologized and you quickly went into attack mode on them. That's just 2-3 months after you went in attack mode on them. But that is why I respect you, Freddie Kissoon. It will not win for sure in 2025. There is one fundamental reason why it will not. Trust is completely gone from the mixed race and the indigenous voters after March 2020. The trust is gone. The indigenous voters who supported them will not support them again. And then when they took power, hundreds of persons that were employed by the PPPC in positions to give the indigenous people, so-called Amerindians, a misnomer. They are not owned by America, but they are the original peoples, and so they are the indigenous, and I love indigenous peoples of this country. They have lost that. Most of those who support them will be gone, and the mixed race will be gone. As for the Indians, it may sound absurd, but in 2025, the PNC will get 0 Indian votes. I agree. They try to destroy the sugar belt, the sugar estates, no communication. They try not to pay them. The people had to agitate, to fight to get their severance. They made no arrangement to give them a piece of land or to re-educate them. After my letter in the media, then the Minister of Labor came out and said they can form cooperatives. You should have formed the cooperatives before. Former APNU AFC Minister of Labor should have done that before. They should have worked out some way to re-educate the people in other trades, welding and farming and cattle rearing and goat rearing and poultry rearing and so on. So they've lost that, and the Indians, for sure, they will get 0, he says. Indians have a psychic distrust of the PNC. Now that's true. Growing up and see what went on in the upper quarantine, and which Indians were being targeted, maybe not directly by Forbes Burnham, but his middle management and his people who were targeting to break us because we appear to be a very successful people. Soldiers were going into our homes, ransacking, searching, picking up people, ladies' underwear and holding up like this in front of their faces, go and check people money in their houses, all kinds of nasty things. Friends and family were going on. And that is why the Indians have developed this psychic hate of the PNC in the upper quarantine. I was there, I know. For many years I was terrified of the PNC until Hugh Desmond Hoyt came into being. And he said, I will be the president of all the people. That was few words that he gave to us, the Indo-Guyanese. And he made us have a feeling of joy. The psychic imprints are hard to erase, but Indians were the factor in the APNU AFC victory in 2015. So this memory that is embedded in there is hard to eliminate. Like when a child is brutalized in his childhood and things put in place to destroy them, even as they grow, even as an adult, can't come out of there, even though you try. And they were able to win because they got Indian votes in 2015 through the AFC. And then the AFC was wiped out because they tried to destroy the sugar belt and had no plan for the sugar workers. And are listening to me, I wrote the president quickly. I went into the media and I suggested that they do something quick to re-educate these people. What would cause them to think that the people will not remember, that they will blindly go and support the AFC? What will cause them to think that ever? In the 2015 campaign, the PPP, led by its energetic leader, Jagdeo, sermonized Indians with the theme, do not trust the PNC, you will regret it. It worked. The PPP almost won, but AFC mustered enough Indian votes to secure the coat of varnish in 2015 that separated it from the PPP. So, his style of writing is really beautiful. It's articulate and poetic. And the word of varnish. to give the AFC enough votes to break the PPP. They won by 1 seat. Ladies and gentlemen, 1 seat. Jagdeo went on a campaign. But they forgot something else after all that they did. All that they were doing, including Lowenfield and his militaristic intelligence mentality in hand with Mr. Harman and others within the PNC or the APNO, they forgot with all they were doing to steal the election that there was a man called Jagdeo, the tactician, the quiet, genteel warrior, Jagdeo, the genteel warrior, my beloved divine friends and families. Yes, that genteel warrior is who caused the amazing victory of the PPPC. While they did everything they could do, they forgot there was a man called Jagdeo. That's why they were trying to eliminate him out of the PPP. Jagdeo has an extraordinary mental faculty for tact, being a mathematician and a realist. Back to the article. After 5 years in power, Jagdeo's 2015 theme resonated in every street in the entirety of the Guyanese territory where Indian lived. So yes, it resonated because they remember now. Remember Jagdeo said, don't trust the PNC, don't trust the PNC. So now, after 2015 came and they did what they did to the Indian communities, and they were building only particular communities of their own ethnicity, that is, the APNO, they made a huge mistake. And now look at what the PPP is doing as tact. They're giving everybody equal opportunity, even more so to the Afro-Guyanese community. That's tact. To win new hearts and minds while looking after their own as well. This is, I think, the election of the 2025 will be something extraordinary. The PPPC might get about 5 to 7 extra seats, taken particularly from the PNC. So, after 5 years in power, Jagdeo's 2015 theme resonated in every street in the entirety of the Guyanese territory where Indians lived. They keep on humming and talking and remembering. And Dr. Jagdeo's technique of marketing during the political season was tremendously successful and awesome indeed. So they had a victory of 2 seats, not just a few hundred or thousand votes. 2 seats. This columnist, Frederick is only saying himself, knows hundreds of persons who voted for APNO and AFC in 2015, but for the PPP in 2020, because he was going around, he know them directly. He was campaigning for the AFC. The straw that broke the camel's back was not a day of rigging, but 5 months of trying to steal a nation. So that is what he believed will be the straw that will bring the camel back. The beating of Indian people in September last year in Region 5 and the March 2020 nastiness have permanently, and I emphasize permanently, killed any recognition Indians may have had of the PNC being a decent entity. And I said so, for which they tried to attack me. They tried to turn the flak on Harman for actually encouraging things. And the blows he was getting, because all I said, ladies and gentlemen, people of Indian descent, if you feel you are being threatened, form community groups. Do not arm yourself with anything more than batons and sticks. Protect the minorities. Do not be aggressive in Indian communities. So he tried to turn that around because I said baton and sticks. If I had said cutlasses or guns, what would have happened? And many people, why I made that statement, many people were calling me saying that they have guns and they have bush guns, good bush guns, illegal guns, and they want to come out. And I would tell them no. So that was the message I sent out subliminally to get it out there. Just arm yourself with batons and sticks and protect your community. Right? So Mr. Harman tried to use his political technique to turn the thing on me. The same thing Miss Amanda Desir, Walton Desir did. The pressure she was getting, they tried to raise it to go to the lawyer, and I think they made a mistake because it turned out worse for them. Anyhow, back to the article. So that is whatever support they would have had from Indians, they have permanently lost it. And this is why I also am saying that the People's National Congress, the APNO, can never win another election. So they need to live well to be trusted so they can have an alliance. But the way you're behaving, who will want to build an alliance with them, with the kind of a leader that they have in parliament of the opposition as an opposition leader, and the kind of constant fighting and bickering instead of accepting and reorganizing the marketing of themselves to the people and to the current government of Guyana. The current government of Guyana, ladies and gentlemen, will be in power for at least 25 years in the future, if not 100 years. Guyanese, both Indians and Africans, think that the AFC should just fade away. As far as I'm concerned, they've actually faded away. They actually existed because of the PNC's grand charity to it. They have to be ashamed that they're surviving from charity. The dilemma facing the PNC now and into the future is how to survive, not just to win elections. So he's saying now the PNC has its own major problem, friends and families. Their problem is how to survive, not just win elections. They're also breaking apart. The PNC knows winning in the foreseeable future is out. That's why they're trying to behave bad. Imagine if Miss Lawrence breaks away and form her own political party with James Bond. They will get definitely a few seats, several seats actually, maybe more than the regular PNC, because they have more of a clout. And I think this guy James Bond, when we worked as a commission of inquiry, he and I gave him some ideas how to win hearts and minds and how to win Indian votes. He didn't listen to me. And then when he came out, I tried to tell him to stop during the 2020 elections. He didn't stop. He didn't listen to me. He continued his way, and look at what has happened to him now. Yeah, so the PNC knows they can't win a future election. If the PNC continues with David Granger at the helm, it will hemorrhage support, yes. Even some of their psychotic or psycho's leader supporters in the USA, two particular ones them, are actually calling upon him to resign. Guyanese in general think Mr. Granger needs to bow out. His replacement is problematic. If the PNC rigs its eternal election to make Joseph Harmon the leader, it will severely weaken the PNC, and they probably will rig, They did rig elections in the past. Internal. PNC supporters prefer Volda Lawrence, and in a fair election of delegates, she will beat Granger and Harmon at the Congress. I agree with that. But Lawrence's baggage weighs more than an aircraft carrier. She carries a lot of baggage because she was taking orders and she was fighting for Granger and Harmon, and she carried some baggage now. And she will be hard to win the support of the indigenous and the Indo-Guyanese. It would be hard. Normally, she could have. But she could win an election against Harmon and even Granger into the future. After the March 2020 psychotic descent of the PNC total leadership, it is best for the PNC to overhaul the upper crust of its leadership. Oh, brilliant. Yes. The PNC, Freddie, needs to overhaul its upper management now. But when you see some of the young ones behaving the way you want to know, like Sarbito Halley, like Amanza Walton Desir. I mean, these persons, they have a kind of a personality that people used to like and could have gravitated to them. It cannot do a complete overhaul because it can't get that amount of fresh faces. Plus, you need to retain those with institutional memory. But it should bring its credible names in 3 departments: leader, chairman, and general secretary. If it is to avoid the severe loss of seats in 2025 that happened in 2006 under Robert Corbyn, when it dropped 6 parliamentary seats, then it must go in that direction. Where to get that in Guyana is a Herculean task. Rysdale Ford is being consulted as a consensus leader, but I think he is damaged material. I think so. The fact that he went with Amanza Walton Desir to the police and create a whole set of nonsensical talk that night to make themselves feel great and powerful, as if taking a vengeance on me would help her, and she don't realize that that word has not changed in the Webster's dictionary. The word mark has not changed its meaning regardless of how people may conceive it to be. It's just a word. Mark is not a bad word. The word has not changed. He is shown, and then also the cases in the petition that he fought was not well fought. I'm not going to say anything further, but I think it was not the best of an attorney at law to attack me for nothing, thinking he has a case, and then also the petition cases and others. But one's life, I would suggest that he tried to recreate his persona, tried to hand out friendship, be attractive to the other ethnicities, Go out and meet them. I had spoken to a man like that, his name was James Anthony Bond. He didn't listen to me. Go and represent some people in some small cases, pro bono. Go and sit down and talk to people in the countryside. Feel their mood, Mr. Roysdale Ford, senior counsel. But you did not do right when you went to the police with me and gave counsel. You did not do right. You actually affected yourself. And my 15,000 people, direct supporters that I have, none of them will ever want to put one finger for you. I do have a lot of supporters in this country, friends and family, brothers and sisters. And whichever party I lend my shoulder to, that party will win an election. That party will win an election. But I think he is damaged material because of his involvement with the election insanities. There you go. Outside of him, there is really no one with credible standing that can be tasked with preserving the staying power of the PNC. I agree with that. There's not much in that core of leaders in Parliament. Mr. Harman is out. He liked the ambition and the power and the perks, but he's out. It would appear that the best pathway to walk is towards the diaspora. Two factors should be an overwhelming presence in the consideration. Look to Guyanese PNC leaders overseas, diaspora out there. Let's see what he says. A young, educated person, and secondly, a woman. The PPP, even if it does wrong, things will not lose. The PPP, even if it does wrong, things will not lose the 2025 poll. That's true. Because there is no formidable contestant. There's no real competition out there. The PNC needs to start planning for its survival as early as possible. From Freddie Kissoon, ladies and gentlemen, your friend, your brother, me, Hajji, Dr. Roshan Khan, in the raw. And I agree with everything that Freddie Kissoon says there. And Freddie Kissoon, I tell you again, I want to show you one of my books that I recently launched. Freddie, this is advice for Freddie. And this book is something that you need to do. A very simple book, Freddie Kissoon. You don't have to, you might not want to put your face on it, right? I'm just joking, man. I'm just joking, all right? I personally find you very handsome, I must tell you, with all your wild hair and thing. I personally find you, Freddie Kissoon, very handsome. You need a book like this, like in the form of a manual, right? Select some of your finest articles, get it printed. You can use regular bond paper. You don't have to use this glossy paper. Get some sponsors. I will be one of them. And you can put a page or two or three inside to give credit with their companies or some people might not want. You can just put a little list of names, or you can advertise for companies, or appoint someone to do it for you, and they will get a percentage out of the book. And get some of your finest articles put in together, man. Let's say about 30 or 40 or 50 articles. Let us say 10 from the early days, 10 from the other decade, 10 from the other decade, and 10 from the current decade. Or the current decade could be the other 10, 60 articles or so, and make one of this, man. Freddie Kissoon. This is my advice to you, friends and family. Your brother, your friend, me, Hajji, Dr. Roshan Khan, in the raw. Saying thank you for tuning in on RKS Guyana Free Media, and my respects and love to you.